I began this work on 26th September, the year 2022. This I had aligned with the opening day as per the school calendar and ended my work in the closing week as per the school calendar, where secondary schools do close at different days. My last day being marked by myself meeting with Shimo la Tewa Boy students on their way home. That was on 22nd of November, the year 2022. In short, I ensured that my work spread to all the 9 weeks of the term. At this point, my struggle was real, the misunderstandings in my life almost reaching boiling point. This was the period after the coronavirus pandemic had subsided and normal services had resumed when I decided to volunteer my services at Shimo la Tewa Boys High School, a national school in Mombasa County. I joined them sometime around 20th of February in the year 2021 and stayed for a period of around 1 year and 3 months, only to be told to leave right in the middle of the second term in June of the year 2022. But let me say this, it's not that they had needed my services in the school. They were doing just fine as per their standards. It's myself who needed the experience of teaching mathematics more than anything else. I just wanted to serve my passion, and Shimo la Tewa was the only place that I felt slightly understood because of my experiences there in the year 2016 and 2017, and especially by the head of mathematics department who I interacted with the most. But really, what made me join Shimo la Tewa Boys High School, and especially on voluntary terms? The struggles that I've had over the years, and especially after the year 2015, when I had declared to myself that I was going to fully focus on the teaching of secondary mathematics, the very environment that I endured my greatest struggles and misunderstandings in my schooling years. I am a man of big dreams, and so I had this big dream with Aga Khan Schools in the year 2008 when I began my journey, and at a point where I was so disoriented, having failed in the 2007 KCSE exam and especially in mathematics, and then having lost my best friend to death at the same year. Having had the privilege of being at Aga Khan Sports Club to play table tennis in the evenings after being among the few welcomed by the coaches who we had interacted earlier in the 2007 Oshol Open Tournament, and then at the provincial indoor games at Oshol Academy, the coaches himself from Oshol, Mr. Tom, proved to be one of the best experiences that shaped my life. It was at a time when I had applied for the KCSE exam for the second attempt, and on Mondays through to Saturdays of every week I used to go to the library. Having had somewhere to go in the evenings after spending my day at the library, and especially the venue being Aga Khan Sports Club, was one of my best moments. It's not that I was paying anything to be there. What else can I say other than to thank them for that experience? I remember at one time after my library session, I had walked to Aga Khan Sports Club and sat outside the table tennis hall at that time, waiting for the coaches and his team of students to arrive. I am seated there, and all I could see in front of me around a mile away was my dream university, University of Nairobi, Mombasa campus. And in my thoughts, I am like, I'm going to study hard in mathematics at the library, get to join my dream university, that one right there, and then get to teach mathematics at Aga Khan Schools. I was already playing table tennis at Aga Khan, and I felt very much at home already. No wonder Aga Khan Schools have been the places that I've visited the most, tried the most, looking for an opportunity to share my mathematics knowledge the most as a primary school teacher in the year 2012 and the year 2015, then as a primary and a secondary mathematics teacher in the years after, then as a motivational speaker in the field of mathematics, an experience that made me visit the headquarters twice and even wrote an email to the head of Academics Kenya in June of the year 2022. I also achieved my dream of joining University of Nairobi, and in the months of September and October of the year 2018, I visited University of Nairobi Mombasa campus, it being my extramural, and I really loved the experience. I was so proud of myself. I ensured that I stood in one of the balconies and stared at the very spot I used to sit at Aga Khan Sports Club, dreaming big 10 years ago. In the same year, when I had started declaring my abilities to motivate learners in the field of mathematics after my successful trial at Makupa Boys Secondary School in the year 2017 with my B+ in mathematics, telling them of how I had planned to get the grade A and how I wanted them to join me, I visited the schools in Mombasa town, the likes of Chuda Boys High School, Hamisi High School, Aldina Vizram, and even Shimo la Tewa Boys. Nothing came out of it. It was only when I visited Aga Khan High School in Mombasa where I was informed to seek documentation from the Ministry of Education. Only then could I have had a chance to interact with the students. And that is how I made my first trip to Jogo House the very day that followed. I expressed myself to the Ministry of Education only to be informed of a circular to all schools in the country that had something to do with motivation in schools, which I had to respect. Before I traveled back home, I decided to conclude my trip by visiting one of the international schools that I had researched on by the name Banda School. At this time, I also had my business card with me, so I tried my best to express myself right at the gate, but was only informed to go and apply online, and that was it for me. I traveled back to Taita and decided to focus on teaching mathematics with the help of the area educational officer at that time. Mwagogo Boys, Mwasere Girls, Mwakitaba Girls, Mololo Secondary School. Soonest, I began with having a week's chance at Mololo Secondary, and on the verge of doing something else, I received my admission letter to the University of Nairobi, and that's how I packed my bags for Nairobi. While at the University of Nairobi, I visited NTV, looking for an opportunity to share my story with Kenyans. But then I was told to write an email to the head of news, NTV, which I did. No response. I also visited KTN, first in town, but then was directed to visit the main office in Mlolongo, which I later did. Nothing came out of it. I also pursued Starehe Boys Center and Lenana Boys. In all these years, nothing seemed to happen for me. Right at the onset of the coronavirus, I did my story, The Grade A Approach to Life, at Nairobi Primary and Secondary School, and left for home with my first sanitizer in my hands. I had to endure the coronavirus period with zero income after many years of trying different things, very broke. Soonest normal services resumed after the pandemic, I visited Kenyatta High School, my dream secondary school in my schooling years. I had a lengthy chat with the principal, shared my story with him, and I even remember explaining to him what it could have meant to me to teach mathematics there, the very place that I wanted to learn mathematics from. Nothing came out of it. I also had to try other schools, including Voi Boys, Mwangea Boys, Mwagogo Boys, Mwasere Girls. Nothing came out of it. And that is how I decided to travel back to Mombasa and link up with the head of mathematics at Shimo la Tewa Boys and informed him that I really wanted to teach mathematics by any means, and that I had tried so much over the years with no positive results. And that is how I ended up staying at Shimo la Tewa Boys High School after the principal gave me the go-ahead through the head of mathematics department. At last, I had a yes after so many no's since the year 2015. Now I had one challenge to deal with: how to get money to sustain myself after so many years being broke. It's not that I'm being employed here, I'm volunteering myself. It was so difficult for me to dedicate myself knowing that I have nothing to expect at the end of the month, considering that the last time that I received a payslip was during the 3 months at Abu Huraira Academy in the first term of the year 2015. But somehow, I found the courage to do it with the help of my family. I tried to request to be offered something by the school, but then the degree issue became a factor. I couldn't get lessons assigned to me directly, and I could only attend to makeshift lessons here and there. But I really enjoyed myself. I was so hungry to teach mathematics, taking advantage of those night classes where I could leave school late at night for home and still wake up at 3:30 a.m. and at 4 a.m. I am back in the school again to respond to the mathematics needs of the students I was assigned to by the head of mathematics department of the school. I tried to initiate different programs that I felt could improve the mathematics standards in the school, but then I felt unheard and chose silence. But I'm very glad to have had the opportunity to share my experience and taking through the KCSE class of 2020 who did the exam in the first term of the year 2021, and then the class of 2021 who did the exam at the end of the year 2021 in my own capacities. How many teachers in this country get to teach in a national school setup anyway? That in itself was a vital experience for me. As the year 2022 was unfolding, many students had started relying on me to teach them mathematics, but then I was deep into my struggles. I still was doing the most, so I requested them to organize for me to get something to help me in my plight, and they didn't hesitate based on how dedicated I was. Right in the mix of all this, with some few weeks of getting something, setting targets for the year with them, I was informed to leave the school, and straight away I knew that my chapter with Shimo la Tewa Boys High School had come to its conclusion. I straight away had to visit the educational offices in Mombasa, where I shared with them what I had been doing and what I could do in the mathematics environment of our country, only to be directed to go to the Ministry of Education headquarters in Jogo House, a trip that I made the day that followed. But first, I visited the Teachers Service Commission headquarters and met with the Deputy Director, Quality Assurance, where I explained my journey, but then she directed me to Jogo House, where I had a lengthy chat with the Director of Quality Assurance and Standards in the Ministry of Education, who upon concluding our conversation informed me to write a letter to the Principal Secretary, State Department for Early Learning and Basic Education, which I later did. The letter had this reference theme: motivational speaker in the field of mathematics. I also attached the contents of my brand at Doc Mathematics, why I dropped out of University of Nairobi, and what I had been achieving as a brand as per that time, and what I wished to do for my country. I was back in Mombasa and had myself to figure out what to do next as the second term was coming to its conclusion. At least I felt hard this time around compared to my first trip to Jogo House in the year 2018. The third term was approaching fast. I had not figured out that I would spend my third term outside Shimo la Tewa Boys, but here was the reality. What was I to do next? The law of conservation of energy states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be converted from one form to another. I had to figure out how to keep my momentum going. Oh yes, the best place had to be the library. But then, how could I get there every day now that I live in Shanzu, the very place I decided to settle because of Shimo la Tewa Boys? Truly, this statement that I heard from Dr. Miles Monroe has been of great authenticity in my life when he said, when facing severe challenge, your mind is normally at its sharpest. While at my house, seated, very broke, contemplating on how I was going to make it to the library every day, the idea of a walk popped into my mind. Why don't I just walk to town? I had been used to this life for so long prior to me joining Shimo la Tewa Boys High School. But then again, how could I make this walk have meaning beyond the ordinary? Let me come up with a board that I will use to showcase my personal professional brand that I will be carrying every day to the library, I would say to myself. And that is how I made it happen, just to keep my momentum going and to explore new experiences. And as Jamie Paulinetti said, limitations live only in our minds, but if we use our imaginations, our possibilities become limitless.